Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is just going to be 2 of my fall recipes. They're actually Instant Pot recipes, which I'm super excited about because they're so easy and so good. Last night I did the French dip sandwiches in the Instant Pot, and we actually doubled that recipe because we had a few of my family over, just so we had enough. And tonight I'm actually making some Swedish meatballs, which we're pretty excited about, and then I'm going to be sharing a dessert with y'all right after, so make sure you watch until the end and let's get going. So the first recipe is the French dip sandwiches, and everything you need for this meal is chuck roast, 1 onion, olive oil, salt, pepper, garlic powder, red cooking wine, beef broth, 1 dried bay leaf, baguettes or the bread of your choice, butter, and provolone cheese. And I'm starting by adding the salt and pepper and garlic powder to the chuck roast, and then putting them into the Instant Pot on the saute setting, and adding some olive oil before browning both sides of the roast. After I got that started, Tyler took over while I cut the onions so that I could add them in after these were done, and my eyes were watering the whole time. These onions were so strong.
You keep me wondering, is our love strong? Just like a love song, baby, it's haunting me. Don't know what you're thinking, it's like I'm sinking deep underwater. Maybe it's harder for me. Oh, harder for me. Maybe we're over it, or maybe just lovers, 'cause under the covers, baby, you're showing me.
Once the meat was done and out, I put in the onions to cook for about 5 minutes or until they were soft, and then I added in the red cooking wine, and I let that cook until it was reduced by half before adding in the beef broth and bay leaf.
How to be fearless, so no one can hear us. You're throwing the pillars to the floor. Now put your loving on me. Eh, loving on me. Maybe you won't see me.
Now I'm just adding the meat back in and putting the lid on to pressure cook it all for 1 hour and 40 minutes.
And sometimes I pretend I'm just above it all, but I want you lying next to me. Yeah, I want your body too. Yeah, body too. And baby, please don't think I'm wrong.
So while that's cooking, I'm melting some butter and putting in the garlic powder and salt to add to the top of the bread before putting in the oven on broil for 2 to 3 minutes.
It's just sometimes I get scared to dive into it. I want you lying next to me. Yeah, I want your body too. Yeah, body too. Will you be my ride or die? Around all these people, we'll try to be someone better than you and I.
I'm also making xoxo sauce for the sandwiches, and honestly, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it's the dipping sauce, and it was so delicious. But the first thing I'm doing is adding the butter to the pan and letting that melt before I add the flour to thicken it up.
Nobody listens to anything that you have to say. Can we just leave and walk away? Walk away.
Once it's a thick, pasty texture, I slowly add in the beef broth a little at a time and stirring it constantly. Then I'm adding in some soy sauce and salt and pepper. And once that's done, I'm going to leave it on low to stay warm until everything else is done.
Maybe you won't see me get emotional, and sometimes I pretend I'm just above it all, but I want you lying next to me. Yeah, I want your body too. Yeah, body too.
I decided to do microwavable mashed potatoes this night to make it easier, and these Bob Evans mashed potatoes are so good. But now that the meat's done, I released the pressure and Tyler's shredding it for me. It all just fell apart and was super tasty.
It's just sometimes I get scared to dive into it. I want you lying next to me. Yeah, I want your body.
Okay, for the meatballs, all you need is the ground beef or turkey meat. The seasonings, you need pepper, salt, hey babe, hey, garlic powder, onion powder, Dijon mustard, and some breadcrumbs. And for the gravy, all you need is butter, all-purpose flour, sour cream, and beef broth. And also for the meatballs, I forgot the egg. My husband's going to get it right now, so you will need 1 egg as well. To start, I'm adding all of the ingredients for the meatballs in a large bowl and mixing it all up. And I also brought the pot over and added some olive oil to the bottom so I could add the meatballs in once I was done rolling them.
Your body too, yeah, body too.
Watch as the moonlight creeps into the room. You're in the headlights. I wanna feel the way you do. Remember the summer? We chased the morning light. We ran for hours. You were always on my mind. We tried to make it out alive, but we let it slip away. If we only had a second shot, we'd find another way. If we could do it all over, you would get the best of me. It could be forever. I would never let you leave. It's not too late to make it as we planned, 'cause we still got a shot in the dark.
When I was done, I added the pot back and turned the Instant Pot on the saute setting to lightly brown all of the sides of the meatballs.
You and I. Watch as the moonlight leaves us in the dark. It's lost.
Once they were browned on all sides, I added some beef broth and then shut the lid to set the pressure setting for 3 minutes.
Now it takes me back to the start. Remember the summer we chased them.
Now that that's set to cook, I'm going to be making some roasted Brussels sprouts. And I have the oven set to 400 degrees while I get them ready to put in the oven. The only thing I added is some olive oil to coat them before I added salt and pepper and Parmesan cheese. I normally use freshly grated Parmesan, but we didn't have any on hand, so I used the shredded cheese that we did have, and it was still pretty good. I mean, I prefer the grated, but it was still good.
We ran for hours. You were always on my mind. We tried to make it out alive, but we let it slip away. If we only had a second shot, we'd find another way. If we could do it all over, you would get the best of me. It could be forever. I would never let you leave.
Once I had the Brussels sprouts in the oven, the 3 minutes were up on the meatballs. So I went ahead and released the pressure, and it smelled so delicious. They look so good too. But I got the meatballs out and then added them to a baking pan. Then I added the broth in a separate bowl to use a little bit later. For the sauce, I'm turning the Instant Pot back to the saute setting and adding in the butter to be melted. And again, I'm adding the flour in to thicken like a paste before adding the broth back in to bring to a boil. And once I have the boil going, I'm going to add in some sour cream and stir it until it's blended really well.
I see it in your eyes. Yeah, I can read the signs. You need to get away. It's time
Now time to add it over the meatballs, and oh my gosh, you guys, these were so good. The meatballs just fell apart and the sauce gave it so much flavor.
change. Oh, you know you'll always have me.
Show YouTube your trick. Show them it's magic.
It's magic.
How you do it?
I'll do it.
So I
Yeah.
got a magnet in my pocket.
I'm the magnet in my pocket.
They are so funny. But back to the dinner, I'm making some microwavable mashed potatoes again this night, and this time we're using the Simply Potatoes brand, which they were just as good as the Bob Evans. We really enjoyed them.
Baby, I will always stay with you.
The last thing we pair with the meatballs is this lingonberry sauce, and you guys have to try this. It's delicious.
So put your trust in me.
Now for the best part, I'm making Instant Pot apple crisp, and I have everything I'm using laid out. All of the ingredients are 6 apples of your choice, brown sugar, old-fashioned oats, all-purpose flour, vanilla extract, butter, cinnamon, and nutmeg. And the first thing I'm doing is just cutting the apples and then cutting them into cubes before adding them to the Instant Pot. Once I have them in the pot, I added the vanilla extract, cinnamon, nutmeg, brown sugar, and water, and then mixed it all together so that the apples were coated.
We'll work it out, you'll see. If we get in a car and drive someplace far, yeah, we could go for a ride.
Now I'm making the topping to put on top of the apples without mixing it in. And for this, I'm melting some butter in a bowl and then adding in some flour, old-fashioned oats, brown sugar, and cinnamon.
The two of us, we don't have to stop. Baby, let's go for a ride. You and I, let us run away. We can go where we want. I'll have your bag if you'll have mine. You and I.
Once it's all mixed together, I add it to the top of the apples, and it smelled so good.
Leave everything behind if you wanted to. Promise you we will be alright if it's you and I.
After everything's in the pot, I add the lid and set to pressure cook for 3 minutes. This is how it turned out, and the house was smelling so nice. So it doubles as a dessert and a nice scent for the house. But after I added it to the bowl, I topped it with some vanilla ice cream. But that's going to be it for today's video. I really hope you all enjoyed watching. Please give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see y'all in my next one.
And I want you to myself. We can stay in hotels, just living